What's going on, Project Mosh Pit? You got pokeaim here and take a black and white 2 standard match versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Izzy. I'm using a Sun team that was given to me by my boy Solar Prominence, and my opponent is using a Rain team. So he's going to be leading off with his Gengar. I'm leading off with my Ninetales. I'm expecting him to switch out just because Ninetales is typically special defensive, so Gengar cannot really touch it. And his Politoed, which is of course his Weather Inducer, is definitely a great switch in for Ninetales. So I am going to go right for the Will-O-Wisp as he does end up switching out into his Politoed like I was predicting. And I am able to get us some nice residual damage, which will be of course racking up this entire game. Now I definitely don't want to stay in. I don't want to take a rain boosted water attack, so I am going to switch out into my Venusaur, which is typically a great switch in for Politoed, as he does predict that really nicely, makes a great play, goes out into his Jirachi. I am definitely threatened out just because there is the chance that I can miss Sleep Powder if he is specially defensive, and he can of course paralyze me, or he can be the sub-combine variant and carry Side Shock, which will of course do a hell of a lot to my Venusaur. So I am going to switch out to my Ninetales just to get at the Sun, as he does end up going for the Side Shock. I am going to double switch into my Dragonite just because with the multi-scale up, I know I do threaten everything on his team. Of course, with the Sun up, I do also threaten his Fortress and his Steel types just in general, just because I do a Fire Punch. So I'm going to go right for the Outrage on this Conkeldurr just because it is a huge threat to my team. Definitely want to get off as much damage as possible. Get off a hell of a lot with that Outrage, as he is able to get off a hell of a lot with the Ice Punch. And of course, because I'm multi-scale, I am able to survive. So I'm locked in the Outrage. He's going to take advantage of that, makes a good play, goes down to his Fortress. Luckily for me though, I do only get a 2-turn Outrage, so my Lumberry is going to activate. Now right here, I am expecting him to predict my Fire Punch just because I am running a Sun team. This is of course a Dragonite just because I do have Lumberry. So I'm actually going to go for the Outrage once again, predicting him to go out into his Politoed just to take, or resist rather, the predicted Fire Punch, and just to get up his Rain for free, which was actually turned out to be a great play on my part just because it means that I essentially won the Weather War since his Politoed is going to go down. So now he's going to go on to his Jirachi, trying to take advantage of the fact that I am locked in Outrage, trying to get up a free sub, but Outrage does have enough power of combined of course with Dragonite to break the substitute, and he's pretty much forced to attack me right here. So he is going to go for the Side Shock. Dragonite is going to be able to live that, and I am going to be able to get some nice damage with the Outrage on his Jirachi. And I want to save my Dragonite as death fodder for later, just because as long as I prevent him from getting Stealth Rocks up, this Dragonite will be able to switch in and out. So I'm going to switch out into my Ninetales just to get up the Sun, just pretty much death foddering it, just because with this Politoed down, I did win the Weather War, and my Sun is here to stay. So I do take that Side Shock pretty nicely. He's going to be able to knock me out with the next one. I'm pretty much forced to attack just because I could easily just go for the Flamethrower or Will-O-Wisp and severely cripple this Jirachi. So he's going to knock me out with the Side Shock. I'm going to go out into my Donphan just because I know since he does have Side Shock, he doesn't have the Water Pulse, and Side Shock is pretty much used over Water Pulse. It's one or the other, and he's probably packing Thunder as his final attack. So I do end up double switching out into my Volcarona, kind of expecting him to want to go out into his Fortress. Though in hindsight, I could have definitely just went out into Volcarona on his Jirachi, and I'm going to go right for the Fire Dance, not wanting to set up too early, just because he still does have a Dragonite with multi-scale attack, so I definitely want to break that. So I'm going to go for the Fire Dance as he doesn't go out into his Dragonite. I see Leftovers, so I'm thinking he's either A, special defensive, B, sub Dragon Dance set, which is really good in of course Rain, and or either C, the special defensive Dragon Tail Hurricane set, which I believe was popularized by M Dragon. So in any case, I do switch out into my Donphan as he does end up going for the Thunder Wave. Of course, I am able to dodge that. Now I'm able to get up my Stealth Rocks. He actually made misclick right here, so he ended up going for the substitute when he actually meant to go for the Dragon Tail the turn before. That way he can still be at multi-scale. So that's a bit unfortunate for him because he doesn't forcing me out into my big threat Terrakion, and I don't want to end up predicting right here. I don't want to go for the Stone Edge and having him go out into either his Jirachi or his Fortress, even though I am a bandit Terrakion, and I don't want to go for the close combat, predicting him to switch out, as he just probably switch out into his Gengar. Maybe he could do that and dodge that close combat. So instead of that, I'm going to end up switching out into my Venusaur, knowing that with the Chlorophyll up, I do outspeed the majority, or if not all of his team, and I can easily just go for the Sleep Powder on his Fortress right here. And now I'm going to go for the Growth, as he's actually going to end up switching out into his Dragonite. Now generally, special defensive Dragonite does check, or wall rather, Venusaur, but even though Growth does give me +2 Sludge Bomb at +2 would not be able to KO this Dragonite. But my Venusaur is actually running HP Ice, which is not common at all on Venusaur, and it's going to work out really nicely right here because I am able to knock out his special defensive Parashuffling Dragonite, which is definitely a threat, always an annoyance to any team, and I'm able to knock out that Dragonite, and that is going to give me a lot of offensive momentum in this match. So now he's going to go on to his Jirachi, knowing that since I probably have HP Ice, which of course I do have. I probably don't have anything to touch the Jirachi, so I'm going to switch out into my Don Fan, knowing fully well that since this thing packs Side Shock, more than likely packing Thunder, and I do of course wall it, so I'm able to take that hit. And I'm actually going to go for the Ice Shard right here, expecting him to want to go out into his Gengar just to dodge the Earthquake, since he can't really go out to Fortress. It's like I easily just switch out into Volcarona and start doing work, and anything else won't appreciate an Earthquake. But he actually ends up going out to his Conkeldurr, more than likely expecting me to go for the Ice Shard. That way he can try and get the free switch into Gengar right here, as I do go for the predicted Earthquake. Of course, he does predict that, which is why I said predicted Earthquake, and he's able to go out into his Gengar, which is of course going to threaten me with the Shadow Ball, but I don't really care at this point. I just want to get off as much damage as possible with the Ice Shard. I know that at any point I can easily just go out into my Volcarona and start sweeping, just because with his Dragonite gone and with his Pieto gone, Volcarona does have a lot of leeway to sweep on his team. So I'm just going to stay in right here, just continually go for the Ice Shard, just wearing him down with that, and of course the Life Orb damage is going to bring him down pretty low before he is able to knock me out right here. And I'm actually going to go on to my Volcarona. Now, I thought I was coaxing him to go for the Pain Split, since that would get off a hell of a lot on my Volcarona. So what I wanted to do was double switch to my Dragonite, forcing him to pretty much go for the Pain Split and giving me more HP, bringing him down really low to the point where Life Orb damage would knock him out. But it doesn't happen though. He actually ends up going for the Shadow Ball, and that is of course able to knock out my Dragonite. But now I'm free to go into my Venusaur just to knock it out with the Giga Drain. Didn't want to risk him getting a crit on my Volcarona with the Life Orb Shadow Ball, and he actually ends up going out to his Jirachi right here. Gonna switch out into my Terrakion. I know that I can easily take a plus, not unboosted, not a +2. Wow, not Calmine at all on my face. An unboosted Side Shock. I do take it, not well enough either to take another one, of course. But of course, I'm going to outspeed him, threaten him with the Earthquake or the Close Combat. So he's going to switch out into his Fortress, which is of course asleep. So I can easily just switch into my Volcarona and start doing some work to his team. Now at this point, he actually forgot I had Volcarona, which is kind of unusual, just because Volcarona is a huge ass threat to his team. So I'm going to switch out into my Volcarona, as he actually ends up double switching into his Jirachi, just trying to get off some damage. And I am actually able to take this Shy Shock rather well, does less than half, and I can easily just go for the Fiery Dance and knock him out. No real point in going for the Quiver Dance, just because I do outspeed the rest of his team, and I can pretty much just do work with the Fire Dance. So his Jirachi is going to go down. I am going to get the boost with Fire Dance, but it does not matter at all, because in the Sun, Fire Dance easily would have knocked out his Conkeldurr regardless of the boost. So he's going to go on to his Conkeldurr, go for the Mach Punch, just trying to get off some damage, maybe hoping for a super mega crit to knock me out. Of course, he's not going to get that because it's not possible. I'm going to be able to knock it out with the Fire Dance, and he's down to his last Pokemon, which is his Fortress, and that of course is easily going to go down to +2 Fire Dance in the Sun from a Volcarona. That's pretty much overkill, and of course I am modest. So that's going to be a good game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Izzy, or should I say just Izzy. Guys, definitely comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed. Feel free to leave a comment, feel free to leave a like, even though I just said that. And if you guys liked my narration or anything, or even the battle, you guys can feel free to subscribe to me. And until next time, guys, later, Project Mosh Pit.